South Korea's ambassador to Nigeria, Ambassador Kim Young-Chae, visited the chairman of Arise Global Media and the ThisDay Group, Prince Nduka Obaigbena, to discuss strengthening cooperation in the areas of trade facilitation and a close working relationship between Korea and Nigerian businesses.
What are your key development targets? What really did you do?
First, as a national policy, put economic development as number one priority above all other values. So we put all energies. We made all sort of a sacrifice, simply speaking, in order to achieve economic development. So I want to ask Nigerians, are you ready to sacrifice other things?
Economy.
For your economy?
Well, you had the help of the Americans, didn't you?
Of course. So we have used the international relations very wisely as well.
Correct.
Wisely. So international relations, diplomacy is invisible, but it can help. How do you direct your country in your foreign policy? It's also very important.
After a progressive conversation, I sat down with Ambassador Kim to speak further on Nigeria-Korea relations. Ambassador Kim, many thanks for joining us today on Arise News. It's an absolute pleasure to get to speak to you today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been in Nigeria now for just over a year, I believe, about a year and 3 months. How have you found it so far?
So far, so good. I have been in many parts of states, and then of course we stay in Abuja, but I visit Lagos frequently, and then I found some sort of Nigerian vitality in Lagos.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. And I mean, bilateral relationships between Korea and Nigeria have definitely progressed over the years, and there have been several notable achievements that I would like us to speak about today. To you, Ambassador, what would you say some of the most notable achievements are?
Let me first talk about our bilateral relations. Korea and Nigeria are middle powers in a way, so we have great rooms to achieve together. Look at the current world, how turbulent it is, and look at the global economy. It is in serious trouble in many aspects. Korea and Nigeria are geographically distant, but we have many areas to cooperate. Yeah. And in the economy, we have about 20 Korean companies in Nigeria, and we have Kochra, which is a trade and investment agency, is located in Lagos. So we try to matchmake between Nigerian companies and Korean companies. For example, Samsung and Lador, they had several years of dispute. But last year, thanks to Nigerian government active involvement, the dispute was resolved finally. So Samsung heavy industry will start their operation fully from this year.
That's brilliant. And speaking of Samsung Heavy Industries, because that's clearly one of the largest Korean companies that's here in Nigeria, I believe Samsung Heavy Industries came in 2011, and one of the most notable achievements, the world's largest FPSO vessel. Can you walk us through the achievement of fabricating and integrating this FPSO and what this means for Nigeria?
It's like a real sort of manufacturing base in Nigeria. That is the world-class equipment, and then they are going to hire around 3,000 Nigerian engineers. At the end of the day, who hire Nigerian people, especially high-paying jobs. So Samsung Heavy Industry, they will produce employment, they pay more taxes, and then they export more Nigerian product. So at the end of the day, those shipyards, even though it's a joint project, will stay in Nigeria forever.
Another notable achievement that I would add would be the assembling of Hyundai Kona SEV vehicles here in Nigeria, which I believe is the first electric vehicle to be assembled in Nigeria, Hyundai obviously being a Korean brand. Can you walk us through the direct impact as well that this is having on Nigeria and why South Korea decided to do this here?
You know, we have Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement signed last year, So Africa will be one market in the near future, maybe up to 2030. So we see the great potential in terms of manufacturing base and in terms of consumer market. Korean companies look at the possibility very seriously. Of course, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. So naturally, Nigeria is the leader in the area of economy in Africa. So we have to look at from that angle as well. And then from Nigeria's point of view, how to cultivate manufacturing is a huge challenge. You know, to export raw materials, oil and gas is not enough for Nigerian economy. So Nigeria need to develop manufacturing sector. And then in that process, I hope Korean companies will be a good partner.
Absolutely, and I mean it's great, but the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of an electric vehicle assembly plant here in Nigeria is power, because I believe that's the greatest challenge that stands between Nigerians and electric vehicles today. Has this been thought about? How can we overcome the power side of it? Because it's all well and good having electric vehicles, but we have to be able to power them.
Yes, even in Abuja, we see frequent blackouts, and then I feel that it is a serious issue to manufacturing. Of course, it is a concern to ordinary life as well. So it is basically how we invest more in infrastructure, not only electricity, but also road, railroad, port, seaport, etc. So that we call the enabling environment for business. You know, we need to have peace and security. We need to have infrastructures. We have reliable government bureaucracy. The customs should be clean and fast. Those things all are part of an element so that manufacturing companies invest in Nigeria and they flourish in Nigeria.
And in all of this, what's in it for South Korea?
That's a very important subject. You know, we have made rapid economic development during the last 60 years. Korea was actually poorer than Nigeria in 1960. So how Korea has achieved economic development is something we want to share with Nigeria. Korea achieved economic development by focusing, by concentration all of its energy for economic development. And then we have very strong government who can push all sort of reforms efficiently and effectively. So in that sense, strong government is very important. And then to put the development, economic development as very high agenda for the nation also important. Of course, we needed to mobilize people in the productive direction. That's also very important. And then, so the government is important. Media also is important. Civil society important. Universities are also important. I want to see more Nigerians have interest in studying Korea as well. Basically, you know, to have people-to-people contact more and more is the basis for cultural cooperation.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that because Nigerians are everywhere. We are all across the world, but Korea is not the first country that comes to your mind. What is the Nigerian population in Korea?
We have around 3,000 Nigerians in Korea. I was told that there are two Nigerian restaurants in Seoul. One is more Yoruba style, one is more Igbo style.
That is
and then we have around 200 Nigerian students in Korea. It's not that big number. But considering our distance, our difference, I think it's a quite sizable number.
So how can we start to improve travel between the two countries? Like you mentioned, the distance, you don't necessarily have direct flights. It's not the easiest transit to make between Nigeria and Korea. How can we improve that if we do want to see more Nigerians studying in Korea, more Koreans coming to Nigeria? Where's the starting point?
The starting point is that if you look at East Asia, we have Korea, China, and Japan, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc. East Asia is one of the rising economic powerhouse. So I want to see more Nigerians focus more on East Asia. They need to look at East Asia more closely. They need to study East Asia in terms of market, in terms of politics, etc. And then specifically, we need to have more flight connections. Thanks to COVID-19, etc., we had a lot of troubles to visit each other during the last 2 years. But luckily, the COVID is going down now, and then many countries are now relaxing restrictions. So currently, Nigerians, when they visit Korea, they do not need quarantine, but they need to have a PCR, still a PCR test. So flight connection, I think, is very important. But at the same time, the airfare should be reasonable for ordinary people to travel for tourism as well.
Absolutely. The airfare is such an important thing, direct flights, and then, also visa processes have to be simplified and made easy. Ambassador, I'd like to bring it back to trade relations just for a bit. You've been here, like we mentioned, for just over a year. For as long as you are South Korea's ambassador to Nigeria, what trade relations how would you like to see trade relations between our two countries improved, and what goals do you personally have?
Regarding our bilateral trade, currently our trade volume is about 2 billion US dollars. Nigeria is not our first trading partner among African countries. But in my personal view, due to Nigeria's economic size, being the biggest economy in Africa, Nigeria should be our #1 trading partner. Right. So I have that aim. So I want to see more Korean companies' presence in Nigeria. At the same time, I want to see more Nigerian business people's presence in Korea. Luckily, we are planning to have some sort of Korea-Nigeria economic forum in July in Korea. I expect at that time many Nigerian businessmen will participate. Those things we need to organize more. So we need to have a more trade fair in Lagos, and then our Kochra will matchmake more partnership between Nigerian companies and Korean companies. At the end of the day, who do trade? It is done by private companies. So we have to make environment so that the private companies from Korea and Nigeria to have more partnership.
You're absolutely right. We have to have conducive environments for these businesses to thrive in, and I'm sure that's something that you focus heavily on. What do you have to say about the ease of doing business in Nigeria? Where do you think there's room for improvement?
For example, I want to see more Nigerians visit Korea and study Korean market very closely. So they need to study what kind of taste Koreans have. In order to sell product, you need to study consumers, right? So I want to see more Nigerian business people visit Korea, and then to look at the Korean market. So what kind of items they can export more to Korea? That I want to see. And at the same time, as I told before, raw materials, oil and gas are not enough for Nigeria. Nigeria needs to cultivate first manufacturing, second agriculture, some sort of agri-business, so that they can export more processed food instead of raw materials. That area, I think we have great room for cooperation.
Absolutely. So the hope is that while you are ambassador to Nigeria, we see Nigeria becoming South Korea's #1 trading partner on the African continent.
Yes.
Ambassador Kim, thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.